So in my last episode, I added onto my roof right here. That way I could have a little more of a lean-to for my horse later. But I added that villager trading hall, and we kind of traded up our villagers. And but this episode, we're gonna be heading to the Nether. So I want to show real quick, like if something does happen in the Nether, let's go to my villager trading hall so I can show you exactly. I can come over here and exactly what I can get. All right, so this is the area I built. These are all my villagers, which I realize I need to add one more so I can have another way to maybe get more emeralds. Also leveled out this pretty, flat. So I'm going to continue to work on that as I level up my traders. But if you look here, this is my Fletcher, and this is how I'm getting emeralds. So I'm trading him sticks by chopping trees down. I do want to get some flint because that's pretty easy just getting gravel. This is my armorer, and so he gives me emeralds with iron. But look at this. If I have emeralds, I can get leggings and boots. These have fire protection 2 and projectile protection 2 on the pants. But when we get him up to master, because he's just at expert, we should get the whole set of gear. So I thought that, that'd be pretty cool to have all that gear. But I have enough gear, as you can see. This is everything I have. So let's go ahead and go back into the Nether, try to find a fortress. All right, now that we're in the Nether, I I made this tunnel, and as you can see, it's hard to see where it's at. Everything kind of blends in, but if you go through that tunnel and all that, everything's red. My point is, I need to add some cobblestone. So throughout the time in the Nether, I'm gonna add cobblestone all over, just to make it easier for me to get around and a bunch more light. But if we travel down, this is the first opening, and this area I'm not sure about because the last time I was here, let me get rid of this gas. I'm never gonna get used to hearing that noise. Anyway, last time I was here, I fell off of this staircase. So I thought maybe if I put stairs, I can get up here faster, and that'd make it easier to run away from anything that might be chasing me. Also, if I need to make this wider, because this soul sand you can't run in it, and that single path makes it super hard. So I went ahead and made it a lot wider. The other thing I was thinking about was the fact that the upper part, if I get shot from up there whenever I'm peeking out to see if anything's out here, I'll fall off the stairs. So I made this little barricade at the top. I can peek out, look around, and then go on my way. So I did the same thing at a few other spots. I went ahead and made it wider, made a wall so I don't fall off of this into the lava or have like a little place to duck off. Then I went to negative 230 and I continued digging. So went down the path. Actually, I put a marker down. So we put that marker so I know which way to go. But that's the negative 230 mark. And again, I put more light and made it a lot easier to find this spot. So then we continued digging and making our way. I had to bridge a lot and create little barriers to help me stay on that path whenever I needed to maybe run back if I ran out of gold or whatever. Then I finally got to a spot where it started to open up, practice my archery a little bit, and look at this huge cave. And I just had to do a lot of bridging. There was a lot of lava. As I was going along between these islands, I figured, I might as well use them, even though it ended up being a bad decision because that's all soul sand. So you can't really run on that. So once I got there, um, I kept getting stuck. So it probably would have been a better decision to keep bridging. That way, if I need to get out of there quite fast, I can run. While I was mining some of these bone blocks, I thought that was really cool. Like they have big blocks. I found a gasp, so I was like, yes, now I have two. So on our next episode, I'm gonna have to rehydrate these. So if you put them in water in the overworld, they become the happy gasp. So I have like two mascots floating around my base. I thought that was cool. So I have to get that in one of my next episodes. Uh, then I realized, hey, I'm at the wrong coordinates, so I had to bridge up and make these another stair set to get up to the fortresses spawn between 60 and 80 level, so I had to get up there. I dug a tunnel for a ways and I found this black stone and some basalt. Made a staircase to kind of see, and again I found another opening, but they had a bunch of magma cubes up here, and I was really afraid to like fight them because there was too many, and it was taking too many hits. I don't have an enchanted sword, so I decided to avoid them and go around. As I went around, I kind of got a better look looking around this corner, and this is like a vast area. So you can see right here, like it's huge. So I definitely want to come back and explore this. But I had been in a nether so long that I noticed my tools started wearing down, and I thought, hey, look, it's time to go back. And I still hadn't found a fortress, so I'm gonna head the other way. So I have that opening back there that I can go and explore. But this is my full journey out. So this is everything that I did to make it out of the nether. I'll speed it up a little bit, but this is pretty much my whole pathway back to my portal. So once I got into the overworld, I restocked on things I needed, got rid of some supplies that I had found, and that way I'd freed up my inventory. So I went back into the nether and I decided I need to go the other way. So I tried on the x-axis, I went one direction. Now I'm going the x-axis the other, but staying on that negative 230. And so I kind of bridged my way. Every time I found gold, I would stop and collect it just in case my boots wore out again, like my first time in the nether. I continued to tunnel and bridge to where I can stay on the right up and down axis. And as I was tunneling, I ended up coming across this forest. I forgot the name of it, but it's the green forest. Got the achievement. So once I found this forest I do know from watching videos spawns Endermen. So I decided to just build this little um, 2 block high cover. Here you go. You can look. This is what it looks like. And I built a couple of them to hide under. But I thought, hey, I'll get a couple ender pearls while I'm here. So the first guy I killed, I just got a block. I didn't end up getting any ender pearls. And it happened for quite a few different endermen. Now, I had an issue with a couple of spots I had made that, like, the terrain was off, so they were spawning in weird places, either behind me like this or down below. And, as I was doing this process, I realized I was ill-equipped and didn't know what I was doing. So I don't know, why I thought I could take on this challenge, but I just pressed on. And at one point, they disappeared, so I had to go and find them. And 2 Endermen actually found me in the forest, and I really couldn't get away from them. And they ended up knocking me off a cliff and killing me before I could dig a tunnel to hide. Huge loss because last time I died in the Nether, I lost everything. So once I got back to the overworld, I decided, okay, get your gear as fast as possible. I found out you have 5 minutes to gear up before you lose all your stuff. So I got all my gear and I hurried back to that point. I'll kind of fast forward through it right here. But this is the whole traveling trip back to that forest. So once I got there, I looked around. It seemed like it took forever, and finally found my gear, and I was so excited. Like everything was there. I was praying that I didn't end up like the last one, lose everything. But as you see, I have all my gear, and not learning from my first mistake, I went straight back into hunting Enderman. This time was a little more fruitful, and definitely got some Ender pearls. That was my first one. There were a few where I didn't get anything, so just kept on going. So after killing all those Endermen, I needed to move around, so I built this platform. See, it's another too high, as like an in between. So whenever I was catching Endermen, like look these guys just standing on this cliff, and the other one right here. Whenever I would get them, I would just run back, hide underneath this little overhang, and that way they couldn't get me. So I made a couple different spots where I could run in between and be able to hide from the Enderman and get more Ender Pearls. So now I got 4 Ender Pearls, which is pretty great because I think I have another one back at the base. But I noticed that my tools were starting to be super low, and I didn't want to lose my tools because they were enchanted. So I decided, hey, let's head back, regroup. I think that's enough for the day. So this is my quick journey back to my portal and back to my base. So there we go. This was a lot of back and forth, and it was a lot of in the nether. There's really nothing to show in there because it's just a lot of walking and digging. Really hoping that the next episode maybe we can find a fortress. But actually my tools, that's going to be the biggest thing. So next episode we'll be working on tools, maybe create an iron farm. I don't know. So I'll see you then.